Good afternoon. You're watching Midday News on Rajya Sabha television. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor and these are the headlines. Polling for Meghalaya, Nagaland and Tripura assemblies announced. Voting on 18th of February in Tripura and 27th of February in Nagaland and Meghalaya. Counting to take place in all the three states on 3rd of March. India's most lethal nuclear-capable intercontinental ballistic missile Agni-5 successfully test-fired. Indigenously built missile has a strike range of over 5,000 kilometers. Future belongs to those who innovate, says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Tells business leaders in Mumbai, Israel-India partnership doing wonders. GST Council to meet to discuss ways to improve revenue collection, simplifying filing of returns to be considered, announcement on tax concessions and reduction of rates on common use items likely. And Supreme Court paves way for all India release of film Padmavat, restrains other states from prohibiting screening. Sanjay Leela Bhansali film slated for 25th of January release. Our top story at the top of one, the Election Commission has announced the dates for polling to the northeastern states of Tripura, Meghalaya and Nagaland. The voting in Tripura will be held on 18th of February, while in Meghalaya and Nagaland, it will be held on 27th of February. The counting of votes in all the three states will be held on 3rd of March. Now, the term of the Meghalaya, Nagaland and Tripura assemblies is ending on 6th of March, 13th of March and 14th of March respectively. The strength of the three assemblies is 60 members each.
Election to the three states will be in two rounds. In the first round, the state of Tripura would go to poll. The date of issue of gazette notification would be 24th January, Wednesday. The last date of nominations would be 31st January 18, that is Wednesday. Scrutiny of nominations would be on 1st February 18, Thursday. And last date for withdrawal of candidatures would be 3rd February, that is Saturday. Finally, the date of polling would be 18th February 2018, which is a Sunday. And the counting of the 18th February 2000. Tripura. And now coming to the other two states, Meghalaya and Nagaland. Should I repeat? For Tripura, I will say the first round Tripura elections would be held. Gazette notification 24th January 18. Last date of nomination 31st January. Scrutiny would be on 1st February 18. Withdrawal of candidate is up to 3rd February 18, Saturday. And date of polling would be 18th February 2018. Now coming to the second round of elections, it would be covering Meghalaya and Nagaland. Gazette notification would be issued on 31st January, that is Wednesday. Last date for nominations is 7th February 18, which is also Wednesday. Scrutiny would take place on 8th February, that is Thursday. And last date for withdrawal of candidature would be 12th February 18, which would be Monday. The date of polling would be 27th February, that is Tuesday. As far as counting is concerned, the counting would be conducted in all the three states on the same day, that is 3rd March 2018, which is Saturday. 3rd March for all the three states. And the date before which election would be completed would be 5th March 2018.
Now to some other news. The GST Council will hold its first meeting in 2018 today. Now the Council is expected to announce tax concessions and reduction of tax rates on several items and services, including household goods, agriculture products, housing sector inputs such as cement and steel. Now coming just 2 weeks ahead of the budget, the GST Council is likely to discuss the inclusion of real estate under the GST and announce the rollout date for the same. It may also announce the simplification of return filing process and iron out the issues in the newly rolled out e-way bill mechanism. The meeting comes amid a continuous dip in GST revenue collection in the last 2 months. Now, ahead of the meet, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley chaired a pre-budget meeting with finance ministers of all the states and union territories today. Meanwhile, markets continued their record-setting spree for the second day today. Now rallied by 394.88 points. The Sensex scaled a new high of 35,476.7 points in the opening trade today, breaching its previous intraday high of 35,118.61 points, which it had achieved on Wednesday. Now, Nifty also zoomed to a lifetime high of 10,887.1 points, gaining 98.55 points. The rupee also strengthened by 5 paise to trade at 63.83 against the dollar. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today met a top leadership of India Inc. for a power breakfast. Netanyahu interacted with business leaders at the iconic Taj Hotel. Business leaders Ajay Piramal, Rahul Bajaj, Adi Godrej, Harsh Goenka, Anand Mahindra, Dilip Sanghvi, Ashok Hinduja, Atul Punj and Chanda Kochar were present at the breakfast. Now, during the interaction with the business leaders, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that partnership between India and Israel is doing wonders. And after the breakfast, Netanyahu also addressed the India-Israel Business Summit. Speaking at the summit, Netanyahu said that we need to be innovation nations to seize the future.
We'll fall back. Innovation doesn't happen by itself. Some of it does, but it can be nurtured, it can be encouraged, it also can be discouraged. The job of governments like that of Prime Minister Modi and my own government is to facilitate your competitive advantages and your ability to innovate, your ability to profit, and your ability to fail. This is the crux of it. There are several hundred groups, research groups of major corporations in every one of your fields in Israel.
And Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis is hosting lunch for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the delegation in Mumbai. Now, after the lunch, Netanyahu will attend the wreath-laying ceremony at the 2611 Memorial at Marine Lines and pay tribute to the victims of the 2008 terror attack. He will then visit Nariman House, where he will meet 11-year-old Moshe Holzberg, who was 2 years old when Chabad House in South Mumbai was attacked by terrorists on the night of 26th of November 2008. While his parents were gunned down, Moshe survived. He arrived in Mumbai yesterday from Israel to be part of Netanyahu's Nariman House visit. Netanyahu will also meet around 30 members of the Jewish community at the Taj Hotel. Then in the evening, the Israeli Prime Minister will attend a Shalom Bollywood event. A monthly magazine titled Namaste Sholem will also be launched today to mark Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Mumbai visit. The magazine focuses on bilateral relations between the two friendly nations. And on to some other news. India today successfully test-fired its nuclear-capable surface-to-surface ballistic missile Agni-5. Now, with this, India will join the super-exclusive club of countries with ICBMs or intercontinental ballistic missiles with a range of over 5,000 to 5,500 kilometers. Now, Agni-5 is India's most advanced indigenously built missile in the Agni series with a strike range of over 5,000 kilometers. The three-state, 17-meter-tall, 2-meter-wide Agni-5 is capable of carrying a nuclear warhead of about 1.5 tons. The missile was tested from Abdul Kalam Island off the Odisha coast. The Agni-5 was last tested on 26th of December 2016. The missile will eventually join the arsenal of the Tri-Service Strategic Forces Command. Apart from being the most potent and longest range in its class in India, the missile also has advantages of a higher reliability, longer shelf life, less maintenance and enhanced mobility. And with the aim of establishing new partnership for defence production, the Department of Defence Production, Ministry of Defence has organised a 2-day defence industry development meet in Chennai that began today. Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman inaugurated the meet in Chennai. Now, the meet is an initiative to bring together Indian defence manufacturers, policymakers and representatives from the armed forces from the region to synergize efforts. Moreover, the aim is to boost Make in India campaign in the defence sector and to encourage greater participation by private players in national security. After the inauguration, Sitharaman addressed the gathering of the Indian defence manufacturers and talked about the importance of the indigenization of the defence industry. She highlighted the steps taken by the government to simplify the process for vendors across India. The Supreme Court has given a green signal for the all-India release of Sanjay Leela Bhansali's film Padmavat. The Supreme Court stayed the notification and order issued by 4 states, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana, Rajasthan and Gujarat, banning the release of the film. The Apex Court also observed that once a film is given a certification by the CBFC, no state government can prohibit the release of the film, further restraining any other state from prohibiting the screening of the film. On Wednesday, a petition was filed in the Supreme Court challenging the ban imposed on the film. The movie is now slated for a 25th of January release. All right, let's get all the updates from Ravindra Singh Shuran, who is joining us live. Ravindra, major relief to the makers of Padmavat because Supreme Court has now stayed the ban on the movie by the states, which obviously paves the way for the screening of the film on 25th of January.
Yeah, that's right, Aishwarya. Today in the Supreme Court today made it clear that the state government has no right whatsoever after the film has been released or it has been given ignored by the Central Board of Film Certification. The state government has no right to issue such kind of notification which ban the movie, and there is no blanket ban is possible after the CBFC has given a note to the movie. The Supreme Court also made it clear that this is the responsibility of the state government to maintain the law and order, and every possible help should be given for the screening of this movie. Earlier in the day, when the hearing was on Harish Salve and Mukul Rohtgi, who were representing the petitioner, they raised the issue that the notification which was issued by 2 states of Gujarat and Rajasthan and 3 other states which came with an order of the announcement saying that this movie will not be allowed to release in all those respective states for want of law and order situation. This is illegal, and they said this is an attack on the federal structure of the government. When the film has been given note by the CBFC, which is a body responsible for giving certificates to the films. And after seeing all the perspective, and this movie has been given a green signal to go ahead. More than 300 cuts has been amended by the CBFC, and its name also has been changed from Padmavati to Padmavat. After that, this film is coming for the release on 25th of this month. In that case, this notification which was issued and the order which has been given by some of the state government is illegal and arbitrary, and it is also an attack on the federal structure. So this kind of notification should not be issued. This is the plea which was taken by the lawyers of the producers, which they approached yesterday in the Supreme Court and requested for an urgent hearing, which the Supreme Court today has listed the matter for a hearing, and this order was passed. The next hearing of this case will take place in March. Aishwarya.
All right, Ravindra, thank you so much for all those updates there. And the Supreme Court has refused to entertain a plea seeking to restrain the media from publishing or discussing issues raised by 4 senior-most judges in the 12th of January press conference. Now, a bench headed by Chief Justice Deepak Mishra said it will look into the matter only after the Apex Court Registry takes the petition on record and lists it for hearing. The plea, which mentioned urgent listing and hearing, sought to restrain the printed discussion, politicization and debate on the subject matter of the press conference dated 12th of January with immediate effect to control further damage to the institution. Remember, 4 senior-most judges of the Supreme Court had raised questions about the functioning of the Apex Court during their press conference. And in Midday News, we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay with us.
Today, we will discuss the strategic alliance between India and Israel.
This relationship, which was there, which was actually thriving, has developed much more.
Netanyahu has clearly said the threat from extremist Islam will be countered by both nations together.
There has been a very strong strategic content in the relationship for decades. Now it's out in the open. India has benefited a lot from this partnership.
Welcome back after the break. Now, a meeting of Minority Affairs Ministers and Ministers of Social Justice from several North Indian states was held in Lucknow today to discuss development plans for minorities. The meeting was chaired by UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath and had Union Minister for Minority Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi as the chief guest. The meet discussed measures to empower minorities without appeasement. Minority Affairs Ministers from Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Bihar, Uttarakhand, Haryana, Jammu and Kashmir, Delhi, Chandigarh and Himachal Pradesh were present at the meet. The meeting comes 2 days after the Union Minister announced the scrapping of subsidy for Hajj from this year.
Development with dignity, empowerment without appeasement. इस संकल्प के साथ प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में उत्तर प्रदेश में योगी साहब के नेतृत्व में और तमाम राज्यों में अलग अलग सरकारें हैं जो शैक्षणिक सशक्तिकरण, सामाजिक सशक्तिकरण और तमाम क्षेत्रों में काम कर रही हैं.
And a cyber police force will be raised under the Home Ministry to keep a tab on the crimes dominating the internet space. This was announced by Union Minister Rajnath Singh on Wednesday while chairing a meeting on the action plan for the newly created Cyber and Information Security Division. Singh expressed concern over the rising incidents of sharing pornography over the internet and sought an effective mechanism to strictly monitor cyberspace and block websites that are flouting India's laws, especially child porn. The CIS division was created under the MHA on 10th of November last year. And the NIA has filed a charge sheet against 12 people in the cases of alleged terror funder activities in Jammu and Kashmir. The 1,279-page charge sheet that was filed in a Delhi court names Lashkar-e-Toiba chief Hafiz Saeed and Hizbul Mujahideen head Saeed Salahuddin. The names of 10 Kashmiri separatists also appears in the charge sheet. Now, seeking permission to continue its probe into the NIA said that 60 locations were raided and 950 incriminating documents were seized in the last 6 months. And there are 300 witnesses in the case as well. And the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, has said that the United Nations Security Council should step up pressure on Pakistan to change its behavior. Now, speaking to the media after returning from a UNSC visit to Afghanistan, Nikki Haley said that the Ashraf Ghani government in Afghanistan has asked the world body to step up pressure on Pakistan. She also said that the Afghan government is trying to take a step forward, but Pakistan is thwarting their attempt to get back to normalcy. The Kabul visit of UN Security Council members came ahead of the Kabul process meeting next month, where the Afghan government is expected to present its strategy for reaching a settlement with the armed opposition. Earlier this month, the US froze nearly $2 billion in security assistance to Pakistan, arguing that Islamabad is not taking any decisive action against terrorists that are operating from its soil. Big story coming from Jammu and Kashmir, where a BSF Jawan was martyred as Pakistani troops violated ceasefire in the Arspura sector of Jammu. A border security force Jawan was killed as Pakistan resorted to ceasefire violation along the line of control in Arspura sector on Thursday. Now, as per sources, shells fired by Pakistan landed in Arnia belt and hit several villages as well. However, the district administration has asked all the officers to remain in the state of highest preparedness in view of continuous ceasefire violations by Pakistan. Let's get you all the weather updates. And severe cold wave conditions continue to prevail in northern parts of the country. Jammu and Kashmir is reeling under biting cold. Authorities in Srinagar have issued an avalanche warning for several districts in Kashmir till today evening. General public has also been asked not to venture in these areas during the warning period. Meanwhile, Kargil town was the coldest place in the state at -19 degrees Celsius. Now, intense cold wave conditions also persisted in most parts of Himachal Pradesh. Minimum temperatures in the high-altitude tribal areas hovered between -14 and -20 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, in Uttar Pradesh also, cold to severe cold conditions are likely to prevail over the next few days at certain places in the state. All the international news now, and US President Donald Trump has accused Russia of helping North Korea get supplies in violation of international sanctions. Now, while criticizing Russia, Donald Trump he praised China for largely complying with international sanctions passed in 2017 that have targeted North Korean shipping, coal, seafood and labor. Now, Donald Trump said, and I quote him now, "Russia is not helping us at all with North Korea. What China is helping us with, Russia is denting." In other words, Russia is making up for some of what China is doing. Donald Trump's latest remarks also seem to reflect on reports that Russian tankers have helped refuel North Korea with the shipments at sea. And US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson has said that there is evidence that suggests that international sanctions were really starting to hurt North Korea. While noting that most of North Korea's trade was with China, Rex Tillerson praised Beijing for its efforts in putting pressure on Pyongyang. Tillerson added that he was confident that the pressure would eventually bring North Korea to the negotiating table over its nuclear and missile programs.
But the Chinese have leaned in hard on the North Koreans to the point part of this approach was to help the Chinese come to the realizations that North Korea for the last 50, 60 years may have been an asset to you. They're now a liability to you. So we're getting a lot of evidence that these sanctions are really starting to hurt.
Meanwhile, amid global warnings that Pyongyang might be playing for time to continue its nuclear arms program, South Korea says that it will continue high-level talks with the North with clear eyes. South Korean Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa, in an interview to the BBC, said that we have to make the most of the opportunity. The two Koreas, remember, earlier agreed to march under a unified Korea flag at the next month's Winter Olympics in South Korea. And now on to news from the first Grand Slam tournament of the year, the Australian Open. An Aussie player, Daria Garvilova, lost to Belgian Elise Mertens 5-7, 3-6. Garvilova will now face Daria Kasatkina of Russia. In another match, ace British number 1 Johanna Konta suffered a shock defeat by world number 123 Bernarda Pera 4-6, 5-7 in the second round. Now Pera will face Barbara Strykova in the third round. Speaking about the men's singles, home favourite Nick Kyrgios beat Serbian Viktor Troicki to move into the third round. 7-seeded Kyrgios defeated Troicki 7-5, 6-4, 7-6 and he will next face Jo-Wilfried Tsonga of France. Meanwhile, in another match, Bulgaria's Grigor Dimitriov beat American Mackenzie McDonald 4-6, 6-2, 6-4, 0-6, 8-6 to book his place in the second round. That's all in this edition of Midday News. Stay tuned on Rajya Sabha television for more news and updates. Thanks for watching.